Lumiere sat on the cliff. The morning breeze carried her thoughts far away. Deep in the woods stood a small wooden house where Lumiere lived with her grandmother. She whispered to her flowers. The wind swirled gently around her hands as if listening. Lumiere looked up. Hearing her name whispered softly in the wind. Her flute played into the breeze, becoming a song without words. At night, grandmother told her tales of the guardians of the wind by the fire. The night wind carried fireflies around her. Lumiere smiled with sparkling eyes. Lumiere asked her friends about the wind, but no one else could hear it. She began to wonder, why was she the only one who could hear it? She began recording what she heard in a notebook, like poems from the wind. One day, the wind pulled her gently toward the forest's heart. Beneath the shadows, she found an ancient stone door, marked with a spiral symbol. As she approached, the wind spoke in a language she began to understand. A soft cloak formed from the wind, wrapping gently around her. Her grandmother noticed a change and warned her not to return. But curiosity led her back to the door of the wind once more. She played her flute with the breeze, and the stone door opened. Inside was a glowing tunnel where wind spiraled as if alive. In the central hall, she saw herself as a child playing with the wind. Lumiere woke to a new morning. The wind curled gently around her wrist as if inviting her once more. Lumiere entered the ancient hall. Whispers from the wind flowed through the walls like voices of spirits. She touched the spiral symbol on the wall. A gentle glow rose as she began to understand. The whisper lured her toward a deep stairwell, where the wind rose from beneath the floor. Ancient spiral steps wound downward, wind rushing upward as if time itself was reversing. Prophecy scrolls floated in the air, and her name was among them. The scroll read, "The one chosen by the wind," alongside a picture of her as a child. Two doors appeared, one bathed in golden light, the other cloaked in pale blue mist. She chose the uncertain path, the door no one had dared to open. Beyond was the realm of wind, spiraling islands floating in an endless sky. Luminous beings drifted with the breeze, speaking to her without word. The spirits formed into a woman who spoke through the wind. "You are the bridge." She revealed a memory of young Lumiere promising she would return. A young girl laughed and danced in the breeze, bonded with unseen spirits of wind. At the center floated a crystal, the heart of the wind, pulsing slowly. The wind realm trembled. Shadows crept among the spirits. The wind woman said, one had once abandoned the wind, and Lumiere was to restore the balance. A door back to her world appeared. Lumiere hesitated, torn between duty and love. Standing in the storm, she asked, "How will I know?" The wind whispered, "Trust your heart." She reached into the core. A new pattern marked her arm, born from the wind's gift. Light burst forth. The storm calmed, and the spirits of wind encircled her with new power. Lumiere stood before the gate of wind once more, but now it reflected herself. As she stepped back into her world, everything had shifted. The wind howled. The light bent strangely. Grandmother fell ill, as if both worlds were losing their balance. Villagers began hearing strange winds and spoke of shadows drifting across the sky. On the mountaintop, Lumiere saw her own shadow, twisted and born of warped wind. She chased the shadow through the storm, her wind clashing with one out of control. A tall tower rose through the fog, the bridge between the two worlds. The shadow whispered, "I am you. Until you accept me, you'll never control this power." Lumiere reached out. "You are a part of me." The shadow faded and returned into her. The storm stilled. The wind turned gentle, and the wind mark on her arm glowed in perfect harmony. Lumiere returned home, carrying a wind that had changed. She placed her hand on Grandma's chest, and the wind gently breathed her awake. A whisper came. "Those who hear the wind must pass it on." She brought the children to sit and listen, just as she once had. A young boy smiled. "I can hear it now." The mountain glowed. The whole valley breathed as one again. Lumiere wrote, "To hear the wind is to hear yourself." The morning breeze carried a whisper. "Thank you." Wind spirits floated across the sky, watching over her still. She walked through the meadow, wrapped in the patterns of the wind. A sound rose, but it wasn't the wind she knew. In her dream, she saw the wind become pale light. Before her, two paths, and she could only choose one. The spirit of the wind stood silently, guarding the way. She saw another footprint, someone who had once listened. She asked the wind, "Who am I really?" The flute in her hand trembled, ready to play a new vow, but the wind was silent, leaving only her in her own heart. She chose to keep listening, even without reply. A young child followed, with eyes full of wonder. An old wooden box was opened. A sound unheard before whispered softly. The returning wind whispered, "Come back home." The stream reflected her image, showing the change she had brought. The wind began to test her heart, drawing new boundaries of choice. Lumiere stood firm, stepping beyond her fears, moving forward. The wind followed her, like a support she had never seen. The flowers once withered bloomed once again. She stepped onto a new path, the path of those who listen to the wind. Golden flowers bloomed in the wind, symbols of new growth. Lumiere walked through the wind, free and ready to protect. A voice, not of the wind, began to whisper of the future she would create. An unusual mist rose, a sign of the changes to come. The wind swirled from a forbidden direction, challenging her to stay. The temple of breath, hidden in the corners of the world. The crystal of wind in the temple gleamed with the light of a new heart. She made her choice to become the guardian of the wind. The voices of the wind united as one and echoed across the world. The power of the wind awakened the valley. Every life began to breathe again. The wind spirits flew by, watching a world reborn. Lumiere soared in the wind, free from all things. The world breathed with her. Everything began to connect. Lumiere's flute played loudly. A new promise was sung. The new child listened to the wind, beginning her journey. The wind spirits flew across the sky toward a new destination. Lumiere disappeared into the wind. She became a part of it. The little girl began listening to the wind. Knowing a new listener was born, the seeds of the wind were released, beginning a new journey. The world breathed through the wind, everything connected by a single breath. The wind whispered, "And it will never fade from this world." Lumiere didn't leave. She remains in the sound of the wind.